Hello, world. Welcome back to the Simple Sports Podcast. It is I, Capo. I'm here back for week three. The week three preview. The league is starting to finally take shape. The cream is rising to the top. All of the grit and nasty crap is sinking to the bottom very, very quickly. And on today's episode, I want to focus on a few more storylines that are still up in the air, including some teams and players that have some things to prove, as well as how the landscape of football can possibly change as we prepare for week three. So, of course, tomorrow is Thursday, which means Thursday night football. And, since they've made changes to the schedule in recent years, the Thursday night games have become far more watchable. They're far better than they have been in recent years. Occasionally, the Monday and Thursday night games can be duds. This past Monday night game was a dud between the Browns and the Jets, mostly due to injury on the Jets side. The Jets aren't a good football team as it is, but having that many guys out certainly doesn't help. And then occasionally we get Titans versus Jaguars on primetime, whether it be a Monday night or a Thursday night game, Sunday night occasionally, I guess. And while they are typically close games, they are rarely entertaining. So today we are going to start there and get them right out of the way. Two teams that underachieve on a consistent basis are the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And when they meet, typically, especially on prime time, it's often a sloppy snooze fest. It's cringy at times, honestly, to watch. But this year's Thursday night meeting is as important of a week three game that we have. Listen, all the games are important in the NFL. But the first couple you can kind of get away with. But this is as important of one in week three that we have going this week. The Jags are coming off of two straight losses. First getting smoked by the Kansas City Chiefs on opening day. Then struggling to put up points against the Houston Texans, which of course is a division rival. I didn't have much expectations for the Jags heading into the year, and they weren't significantly higher for the Texans. The Texans, I do believe, have a franchise quarterback and a few weapons on offense, along with an okay defense that has been slipping in recent years. They're still decent. They're still, average to above average, but certainly not the top five defense that they had a few years ago. And the Jaguars really don't have any of those things. They have a bunch of dudes on the team that play football, but they are no team, really. You got guys asking for trades, so forth and so on. So they're extremely loud for a team that's won absolutely nothing dating back to last year, especially. They're also not a good football team. So now they have a new quarterback running things with Foles hurt. So we'll see if he helps change life for them in the coming weeks. I'll give him a pass for a bit, just because, let's be honest, he has a ways to go for one. He's missing throws high and wide and every other way all day on Sunday. But this is his first go around, and since it's not where he was supposed to be, at least not yet, in terms of him being a starter, he is a backup for a reason. So I won't be too harsh on him. But on the Tennessee Titans, you better believe I'll be rough, because I was rough last week when they were supposed to beat the Colts at home, when they lost to a supposed backup in Jacoby Brissett. And then the last episode of the Simple Sport Podcast, I detailed all the reasons it was a terrible loss, mostly because it was a home loss to a divisional rival. Those are games that you just can't lose. I don't care what team you're talking about, whether it be Tennessee, whether it be the Cowboys, whether it be the whoever. A home divisional game is something you're supposed to take care of. There are some games that you will lose, just because that's the way sports go. You're never going to go undefeated for your entire life. But there are some games that you're supposed to win. Games against really bad teams, you're supposed to win those games. And along those lines, games at home in the NFL in general, games at home, but especially games against a divisional rival at home, they count doubly as much. You got to have those in your pocket, particularly early in the season. So the Titans have a chance at new life. They're 1-1. I acted like the world was ending in my last episode. And listen, that's not to take back what I said, but the fact remains is it's still week 2. Okay, heading into week 3, they're still 1-1. It's not like they started season 0-2. I'd be a lot more upset and concerned if they did. But the fact remains that you got to win those games. So it's an opportunity to go 2-1 with the division win. Would be nice to be playing for 3-0, 2-0 in the division. But we're past that. It's about going 1-0 this week. So, and then you got a long rest before you head on the road next Sunday to Atlanta, which is not going to be an easy game by any means. So, how do they get there? For me, there's two things that have to occur, two major things. There's a lot of things, obviously, but two main things have to happen. Number one, Marcus Mariota has to be better. And number two, Derrick Henry has to be featured more. He was on the roll last week, and all of a sudden they just stopped giving him the ball, particularly in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, he broke a couple of nice runs, 7, 8, 9, 12 yards every time they gave him the ball. And, he was running the rock well, and then poof, gone. They just stopped giving him the ball. So that can't happen. He's got to be more involved from word go and really throughout the entirety of the game. So Derrick Henry has to be involved more. Secondly, Mariota has to be better. I feel like I've been saying that every week for the last 2 years, 3 years, but it's facts. It's just facts. You watch him on Sundays, in this case Thursday, and then watch the tape after the game. Every quarterback misses throws, but he misses a lot of them. Every quarterback occasionally runs themselves into a sack, but he does it a lot. I mean, every quarterback in the NFL makes mistakes. They misread coverages. They misfire on throws or fail to pull the trigger altogether. But he does it a lot. And in order for the Titans to win, he simply has to be better. So, enough said. I'm moving on. Man, am I excited for this next one. Ravens versus the Chiefs. Maybe game of the year in week 3. We know game of the year last year was, of course, the fireworks show the Rams and the Chiefs put on. I believe it was Thursday Night Football last year, a little bit later on in the season. This year, I think it's going to be this game, Ravens versus Chiefs in week 3. Mahomes, the Ravens defense, Lamar Jackson versus the new Chiefs, somewhat improved defense. Both teams' first real and true competition of the year, so I'm really excited for it. We saw Mahomes light it up all last year until the Ravens came to play, and, while he was good, the Chiefs ultimately got the win, but there was an extremely noticeable difference in his play. The Ravens put it on him. They put it on the Chiefs altogether, and really almost won that game in large part because of their defense being so good, and at the time, they just simply couldn't score enough. So, that may not be the case this year. I love watching Mahomes, but Lamar Jackson is growing on me quickly. He's clearly gotten better. Even a casual NFL fan can see he's gotten a lot better. I said last episode that, of course, he's faced some, less than competition. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to get it done. And he did just that. You don't need to see much film on him this year to see that he's improved. Compared to last year, he looks far more comfortable. I said that in the last episode. Marcellus Wiley made the point a few different times on Speak for Yourself. He looks far more comfortable in the pocket than he did last year. And listen, I love it because I was skeptical of Lamar Jackson, and I've not fully released that skepticism. Like, I'm not completely over it, but I'm certainly sitting up. I'm on the edge of my seat, so to speak. I'm watching, I'm listening, and so far I'm impressed. So if this is the new norm for Lamar Jackson, then they can absolutely win this game. No doubt about it. Their defense is legit. Their run game is legit. And Lamar Jackson is proving to be a far better passer this year than he was last year. So they can absolutely win this game. Their defense had them right on the doorstep last year. And with an improved Lamar Jackson throwing the football and still obviously the runner that he is, he's oftentimes the best athlete, if not every time the best athlete on the field. So with his improvement in throwing the football, I'm marking this game, like I said in the beginning, as game of the year. I cannot wait to see it. Moving on. Coming into this year, I had really high expectations for the Panthers. Maybe not really high, but they were apparently a little bit too high. I thought they'd be one of the better NFC teams. I don't know if necessarily a Super Bowl contender. I thought the Saints would be able to win the division. We'll see how that shakes out with Drew Brees' injury. Panthers certainly have an opportunity to capitalize on that. I thought the Saints would win the division. I thought the Panthers might be able to compete for a wild card spot. So far, they've been nothing but a dud. Cam Newton is hurt again, and defensively, they are nowhere close to where they used to be. They were one of, if not the best defense in football. What was it? 2, 3, 4 years ago. I don't know exactly how long it was when they made the Super Bowl run. Now, it's early, so I'm not in a panic yet. I got one foot off the train, and I'm bracing to jump off, but I haven't jumped off just quite yet. We saw Andrew Luck struggle early on last year with the same or similar injury to Cam Newton, so it is certainly possible that he's just kind of making his way back into football. But here's the thing. Cam Newton may not even be able to play on Sunday. And if he does, he won't be 100%. I'm leaning towards him probably playing. But he was in the walking boot the other day, so, who knows. But maybe that explains why he was so off on his throws against the Bucs. He wasn't just missing. It was a bad miss after bad throw after misfire after misfire. And it was not pretty to watch. On top of that, Christian McCaffrey was a no-show. Some of that, I'm sure, can be blamed on the fact that Newton was way off of his game, and as a result, the defense was able to focus a little bit more. Like I said, Cam Newton could hit the broadside of a barn. So, it lends me to believe that the Bucs were just able to focus in on McCaffrey a little bit more. I would like to believe that if Newton were better, McCaffrey would be better, but we'll see. But my problem with it is it was the Bucs. The Bucs defense is not good. The Bucs as a team are not very good. McCaffrey should have been able to do a little bit more than he did. And he's obviously going to be key for them. And it's incredible that I'm even saying any of this considering who they're playing, which is the Arizona Cardinals, who, if not for the Jets and the Dolphins, they still are one of the worst teams in football. Just one of the worst. And it's not necessarily, the Jets and the Dolphins by all sorts of different angles. Poor talent, poor coaching, poor everything. The Cardinals are just a mess. They fired their coach, got rid of their quarterback after 1 year for both of them. One of them was a first-round pick, and he's already gone. The coach in his first year, he's already gone. Who knows what they're doing? I've been on the Kyler Murray roller coaster, as I call it. And I call it that now because when you watch his games, one throw he makes, it makes me go, wow, like this kid is incredible. Look at the arm talent. Look at the accuracy. Look at the zip. That the ball leaves his hand in a hurry. For someone so small to be able to sling that ball around like that is incredible. And then the next throw he makes me cringe, like I'm watching a comedian bomb on stage. And then the next one gets batted down at the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure what to make of him so far. The offense they are running is so hard to dissect because they were so bad last year. I'm not sure if it's their scheme or if it's their personnel that's making them look as bad as they are. They don't have the players around him aside from Larry Fitzgerald, who I love, and David Johnson, who I used to love in spots, neither of which are what they used to be, one due to age. Larry Fitzgerald is just not the player he was simply because he's older. You throw him the ball, he's going to catch it. But aside from that, he's not nearly the explosive player that he used to be. And then David Johnson suffered the knee injury and just hasn't been the same since, which is to be expected. So not a surprise there. But I think some people thought he'd be a lot better for the Cardinals in his return than he has been. So far, the Cardinals haven't moved the needle for me since the beginning of the season where I kind of projected them to be. I've not lost interest just yet, but I'm certainly no more interested than I was before. I'll be watching Kyler Murray closely for the rest of the season, of course. He was the number 1 overall pick, and he, quite frankly, is a phenomenon. It's something we haven't seen before. So, yeah, of course, I'm going to be watching him and Cliff Kingsbury for the rest of the year. mostly to see if they can get their first win against the Panthers, a team that's on its heels just 2 weeks into the season. Cam Newton already banged up. So mostly to watch that, and also to see if Cam Newton can ensure that the Cardinals don't get their first win, because that would be a disaster. Until then, I am moving on. Now, we know what the LA Rams represent, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the Rams. So far, Gurley is producing. Seems to be relatively healthy. They're doing a good job of sparing his body, not giving him the ball 35 times a game, but certainly in the spots that they need him, he's been there. So that's all fine and good. The defense is playing well enough anyway. It's not dominant by any stretch, but playing well enough. And Jared Goff is just kind of maintaining. He's not had a great game by any means. Not had a terrible start to the season, but definitely a lot slower than they were last year. But I expect him, as the season progresses, for them to get things on track, become a little bit more explosive, and things of that nature. But I'm not going to be shocked if the Rams lost to the Browns this Sunday, even on the road. A lot of people will probably be shocked in the Rams camp if they did lose to the Browns, but I wouldn't be. So I'm not going to read too much into the Rams side of it, depending on how the game goes. Obviously, if they get just rolled off the field, that's a different story. This is going to be one of the closer games this week, I believe. And I wouldn't be shocked if they lost to the Browns. But to that point, this is the first real test for the Browns. I put zero stock in the week one. It's week one. And I don't care if it was against the Titans. I don't care that they gave up 43 points. Yes, I know, regardless of what you think about the Titans, whether they're a good team, an average team, or whatever, they're not a bad team. And yes, they gave up 43 points. But again, it's week one. We've all seen crazier things happen in week one. I don't care about any of the hype. People start to attach their opinions to the hype instead of actually looking at what happened. And again, we've seen crazier things in week one. We saw the Chiefs absolutely roll the Patriots before the Patriots go on to win the Super Bowl. So I don't put too much stock into week one. But Monday night against the Jets, however, was a bit concerning. Just a bit, not a lot, but just a bit. It's still only week two. But the bottom line is the Jets are terrible. And they were missing, 7, 8 starters, including their starting quarterback, including their first-round pick, Quinn Williams, including C.J. Mosley, who's been playing well so far. I felt the Browns should have run away with that game. But, okay, they didn't. It's week two. It's nothing to panic long-term over. Something that should definitely raise your eyebrows, no doubt about it. But it's no reason to panic. But they should definitely be at full attention. The Browns, the players, the coaches, the fan base, they should all be at full attention. It is about time, as we move into week 3, and then so forth into 4 and 5, that your team should be taking shape, if not already. Your identity should be set as a team, if not already. You should certainly be able to adapt your game plan. If you are who you thought you were, that's great. If you're not who you thought you were, do you understand that, and are you able to change? And so those are the things that you're starting to look for as we get into the bulk of the schedule. I think some of the media is in a panic due to all of the hype coming into the season, as if the Browns should be 2-0, and they're not. And so, the world is ending in some people's eyes, and that's just not reality. But here is what is a real fact. The defending NFC champs are coming into the Browns building, and trust and believe they've heard as much about the noise, about you, as everyone else has. They're coming to prove a point. They're coming to punch you in the mouth and then move on to week 4. And the media is ready to can you as soon as they do it, regardless of it being just week 3. The media is 100%. As soon as that happens, they are going to say, see, I told you, it's the same old Cleveland Browns. And quite frankly, if they do, I got to admit, they may be right. I still think it would be far too early to say that. but that's certainly going to be the narrative. And we're about to find out what the Cleveland Browns are truly made of. And I, for one, absolutely cannot wait. All right, guys, and that's it. It's been a short one, but I just wanted to look ahead to week 3. I'm pumped. Football season is here. We're in the thick of it. Like I said earlier, we're starting to see some things take shape. Some teams start to separate themselves. The Patriots clearly have separated themselves. The Chiefs, although they get their first real true test this week, we still would like to believe that they're going to be right in the thick of things at the end of the season. So we're starting to see the good teams make themselves known as the good teams. The bad teams are dismissing themselves quickly and often. And I can't wait. A lot of great games this week. Rams, Browns, Titans, Jags tomorrow night. A few other ones. So I'll see you guys probably next Tuesday, maybe a little bit before then. In the meantime, peace.